I am excited to bring on Mystral Echavarria. And so Mystral is a somatic energy healer, a hypnotist, and intuitive life coach with over 17 years of experience and creator of Practical Woo. I love the woo. Blending strategy with shamanic wisdom. She helps visionary perfectionists and people pleasers ready to pursue long-held dreams. Her clients leave with a renewed sense of confidence and clarity, feeling motivated and exceeding their limitations. In her free time, Mystral enjoys biking in New York City, dancing, and planning scuba adventures. Now, in her chapter, The Little Mouse's Bliss, Mystral shares her journey through depression, comparing it to a mouse struggling to keep a lid on a boiling pot. She explores the emotional turmoil following her brother's death and the transformative experience of studying massage therapy in Costa Rica. By shedding perfectionist masks and embracing vulnerability, she discovers ways to manage emotions and build resistance. The chapter concludes with a metaphor of sending love to herself and others, highlighting the journey of self-acceptance and emotional freedom. Welcome, Mystral.
Hi, so excited to be here with you, Michael.
Yes. So tell me, what was it that inspired you to write this chapter?
So this was a story that I had it kind of came out of me a few years back. And then when I was trying to wrap my head around what am I going to write for the chapter, right? That infinite like writer's block. I just kept coming back to that story over and over again. And it felt like a little bit like a little different because it's like a story, but it just meant so much to me. And then there's that twist at the end where things kind of come together and there's that beautiful visualization that was so impactful to me. And then that's what my free gift is that I created a guided meditation that takes you on that exact journey. That is probably one of my favorite meditations that I've actually made to this date. And so, yeah, that's why I did it. And it was, I think there's something powerful in a lot of what I do with my clients is about like honoring, acknowledging, and like witnessing the tough times, but then also finding out as you learn how to manage your emotions, as you learn how to like honor yourself and listen to your body, that you're able to handle the tough things as much as you're better able to enjoy the good things as well.
I love that. And that's so important. You know, I think so often people get focused on just all the wrong stuff, you know, and so many people will tell me, oh, I've got these problems in my life. And it's like, well, if you just focus on the right stuff, you know, then you're going to have so much of a better life and not sweat the small stuff. Right.
Exactly.
So I love that you used a metaphor in your chapter. And you know, you describe in your chapter this story of a little mouse trying to hold a pot on a boiling, the cover on a boiling pot. And you describe in there, you know, this metaphor is a metaphor for depression. So you describe depression as a relentless attempt to control overwhelming emotions. Can you share more about the moment you realized you needed to change your approach and how that realization impacted your healing journey?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely that, you know, that good girl role, the perfectionist, the people pleaser, like, and I was going through, I think I mentioned there, I was going through a really tough relationship and coming out of the other side of it. And it wasn't until I came out of it that I realized how much I had given up of myself to just like make sure everything was okay all the time. And not till you're like looking back on it, you're like, whoa, I really just disappeared, you know? And so then that was the aha moment. That was like a turning point where I also was in grad school at the same time. So it was just like a lot of things pulling me in a lot of different directions. I was sleeping like 3 hours a night. Talk about burnout. And I'm like trying to study to like help people be healthy. And I'm like, this is really not working for me. But by the time, but part of that was this like societal like want to have a doctorate in front of my name, to like have that PhD. And I still wanted to do all the woo stuff. And I'm always been a little bit alternative. I was never going to work in like a clinical setting, but I wanted to know about the human body. I wanted to know everything about how the human body works. And I was really stuck on needing to have that doctor in front of my name so that when I did go and do more alternative stuff, I had some sort of authority. And it wasn't till I hit that depression that was right after that relationship that I took a year off from grad school because I was so burnt out, that I was able to have this like healing moment with a Reiki session, actually, where like I came in so like brain fogged and sluggish. And then all of a sudden, like it felt like I was floating and I just had this like my brain was going a mile a minute and then it went clear. And then I just heard like a voice that said, "You're enough." And that was just like a real switch moment for me, of like, okay, like you don't need to do all the things to be worthy, to, be able to do what you want to do and go after what you want to go after. And so that's when I started kind of exploring more of the things that I wanted to, instead of trying to be like, get the things you're supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
in relationships and, in my career. So that's kind of how it all came together.
I love it. And you mentioned, the good girl mask, right? And so this is something that you talk about in your chapter, is that, tearing away the masks and the armor that weigh us down. And that's, I've definitely in my life felt that weight, right? So what are some practical tips that you can give to somebody who wants to begin this process of shedding their emotional armor?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that I talk about is I want everyone to know that they deserve joy, respect, and pleasure, and you never have to prove yourself or earn that from anyone. And so when I think it all comes down to decisions, the decisions we make to choose from what shoes am I going to wear to really big decisions. And I think there's this really interesting exercise to continuously ask yourself, when you're going to make any sort of choice, does this bring me joy? Does this bring me respect from others and from myself? And is this a pleasurable experience? And I don't think we take those into account when we're making life choices, small or big. And I think that our choices would be very different if we asked those questions, and they would center ourselves a lot more in doing that.
That's so powerful. It's, just that's something I was even talking to Kayla about this morning, right? Is, finding what brings you the joy and moving in that direction, right? And recognizing, sometimes you have to recognize when, what you're doing isn't making you happy, or what you're doing isn't, I don't even like the word making you happy, because that sounds external, like an effect, but stimulating your happiness, right? And,
Right.
and the kind of thing that, makes your soul sing. That's the kind of work that I like to do, is the stuff that makes your cells dance and your soul sing.
Yes.
Um, yep.
Yeah, well, it's exactly like, because I think so much of the time we think we're working really hard in the right direction, but we don't realize all the unconscious choices we're making that are actually taking us steps backwards. And so it's this interesting exercise to be asking yourself out at every little choice that you're making, just to kind of start being aware of where you are kind of unconsciously taking a choice backwards, kind of a thing.
Yeah, so true. So in your chapter, you mentioned the practice of sending love to yourself. And
Mhm.
I feel like today we live in a society where we feel like we need love from other people, right? And so many people, like, really, they sacrifice so much just to get other people to love them.
Yeah.
But why should we seek love from ourselves first?
Because that's really, I think of it as like everyone talks about filling your cup, but I think the thing, I forget where I heard it from first, but there's the idea of when you pour out and you're helping other people, you have to tip the cup, which means you're inevitably emptying your cup, versus having a cup that is able to stand up straight all the time and be overflowing. And then you fill other people's cups from like a fountain that's overflowing, and you never have to go below the top line of the cup. And so that's why you have to love yourself, because the more that you love yourself, the more that you take into account what your body is telling you, what your soul is telling you, what your mind is telling you, and you don't make it get to it starts off whispering, right? And then eventually it starts yelling at you, and you're like, oh no, why does everything suck? It's because it's trying to yell at you because you weren't paying attention. And so I think that the more we pay attention to it, the more we're able to keep that cup full, and we're able to recognize when we're emptying our cup, so we can kind of take a step back instead of feeling like, oh no, my cup's half full, well, I'm just going to keep going. And so that's kind of why it's so important, because we can't really be our best self to the people that we love, or to the projects we want to create, or to the dreams we want to go after, if we're always running on empty.
Absolutely true. And yeah, been there myself, right? Where I've run myself ragged, run myself empty. I'm always giving and doing for other people, and then sometimes forget to do myself. We have that old and sometimes tired metaphor. If the cabin pressure drops in an airplane and the masks drop down, you have to put the mask on yourself first, if
It's
you want to be able to help other people.
Well, and especially being in the kind of healing, in the therapists and the hypnotherapists and the NLP practitioners and the energy workers and massage therapists and such are all givers. We all want people to feel better. And so it's something that I am continuously relearning the lesson, and I just get better and better. It's not like we're human. We want to go and do all the things, right? But we're able to learn quicker and quicker to listen to ourselves and kind of pull back a little.
Absolutely. So in your chapter, you tell a really moving story about losing your brother when you were a teenager, and that you kind of went on this mission to bury the emotions, right? All I need to do is be busy. That's what we tend to do. But your chapter actually emphasizes the importance of allowing emotions to surface rather than bottle them up. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think, it was obviously a really rough time. We were really close. It was very sudden and we didn't see it coming. And then I started college like almost right away. And I'm like, sweet, freshman year, I've got this, and I just remember getting to a point and having this conversation with my mom, and like just weird things kept happening, like psychosomatic type stuff. And my mom and I were just like, I think you just need a break. I think you never processed anything from it. And it took like 2 years for me to like figure that out. But then, I decided to go. I was thinking of going to chiropractic school. And so I thought, oh, massage would be like a cool thing preparatory before that. And I had seen these ads for Costa Rica School of Massage Therapy. And I was like, sweet, that sounds awesome. And I'll be able to like be in like a healing space, in nature and stuff like that. And it was amazing. Not only that, but we were a very small group, and you're getting massaged like 2 or 3 times a day because you're each other's like bodies. And I think all that body work and like being in nature, it really did allow me to just finally let go and feel. I also hadn't figured out how to manage the emotions yet, so that was a struggle. But it's all a learning lesson, and you handle things one way, and then you're like, well, that didn't work. And so it's always an experiment. I think you're always going to like, well, let me see, this is a weird new thing I don't know how to deal with. Let me try this thing. And like, that does work. And you keep doing it, or it doesn't work. And you're like, ooh, not going to do that again. Or you do it again, and then you have to learn the lesson all over again.
That's right. All right. So we are here today supporting our book launch of our brand new book called Inner Revolution, Embracing Change to Achieve Greatness. Mystral is one of the co-authors of the book, and she has written a really great and touching chapter on, and with a great metaphor in it as well. So Mystral, if people want to connect with you or maybe even work with you, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Well, I have another really awesome hypnosis. If they want a freebie, is it's free-hypno.com. Or you can reach out to me at Embodied Magnetism on Instagram too. Just DM me and say hi.
I love it. And so Instagram is the best place to follow you. If people want to work with you, explain a little bit. We've got about 1 minute and 15 seconds. Explain a little bit about what you do to help people.
Right. So I combine energy work, NLP, hypnosis, and I like to create these really magical moments, but that are also very like actionable and practical. I want you to have that like emotive experience, but then also know exactly what to do with it as you move forward. And so I have a Cycle Breakers Collective, which is this really deep clearing calls we do every week, and that's super powerful. It's like a collective healing experience. And then I also have a more intimate kind of coaching group where we walk through the whole five steps of my framework to kind of create space and then be able to plant seeds in like a very nutrient dense kind of soul sort of a thing. And so that whatever you do, you can take it on and make the most of it.
I love it. One of the first metaphors I ever heard in hypnosis is that, the soil doesn't care what seed you plant in it. You could plant a beautiful rose, you could plant poison ivy, right? The soil is going to grow whatever you put in it. And so I love that you said nutrient rich, right? Let's plant the right seeds and then give them the right reinforcement. Thank you so much, Mystral, for hanging out with me. And let's get this book to #1.
Awesome. Yay. Thank you.
Yay.